Since Ghostbusters first debuted in 1984, it has inspired an entire cottage industry, consisting of animated series spin-offs, theme park attractions, and more merchandise than you could shake a proton packet and not just toys, but comic books, video games, puzzles, board games and more. It is truly an international brand, with a logo that probably rests alongside Mickey Mouse in terms of being instantly identifiable. But, incredibly, there have only been 5 feature films inspired by the franchise. This could speak to the difficulty in translating the concept to the big screen. It could also be because these movies are complicated to make and have many moving parts. On the eve of the release of the latest Ghostbusters movie, Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire, we are looking back at the franchise and ranking every Ghostbusters film, from the worst to the very best. 5. Ghostbusters: Answer the Call 2016. We'll give the 2016 all-female reboot of Ghostbusters, now more commonly referred to as Ghostbusters, Answer the Call. This it actually attempted to be funny. And there are some good jokes, along with some fine performances, in the Paul Feig-directed revamp. This is particularly true of Chris Hemsworth, who played the dim bulb Janine Melnitz's stand-in, and Andy Garcia, as the New York mayor unconcerned by supernatural threats. Watch the director's cut for a side-splitting moment when his assistant, played by Cecily Strong, explains skydiving to him. But all of the comedy, or attempted comedy, doesn't matter much when the story is this convoluted and the plot mechanics this creaky. Why, for instance, do we need a seemingly endless series of scenes devoted to them trying out their gadgets? You know what movie had 0 scenes of them trying out their gadgets? The original Ghostbusters. While not completely charmless, and certainly unworthy of the vitriol delivered towards the movie online, the 2016 Ghostbusters unfortunately gets lost in a sea of dicey CGI, and a narrative so unnecessarily confusing that, for the theatrical version, they didn't even bother to explain much. Oh well. It could have been really special. But we understand why you wouldn't want to answer this call. 4. Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire 2024. The review embargo just broke for Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire, and the response is chilly, which is more than a little unfair. This direct follow-up to Ghostbusters: Afterlife smartly relocates the action to New York City and the iconic Ghostbusters firehouse, while divvying up the time between the classic Ghostbusters. Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson and Annie Potts all make appearances, and our new heroes Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon, Finn Wolfhard, McKenna Grace and Celeste Connor. Oftentimes, the plot feels overstuffed to the point of breaking, with Emily Allen Lind showing up as a ghostly friend, Kumail Nanjiani as the latest in a long line of proto-Ghostbusters, and a lot of lore surrounding a new villain, and an expansion of the Ghostbusters organization. At the same time, the climax feels weirdly small, missing some of the classic beats that made the first 2 Ghostbusters films so special in the first place. Still, it's charming and bright and there are a few good jokes. Maybe a 3rd movie could synthesize the best elements of the first 2, and give us a little scope this time. 3. Ghostbusters: Afterlife 2021. After 2016's reboot failed to connect with audiences, filmmaker Jason Reitman, son of original Ghostbusters director Ivan Reitman, took on the challenge of updating the series for a modern audience. He did that largely by staying true to the first Ghostbusters film, deepening the mythology and centering on Egan Spengler's daughter Carrie Coon and granddaughter McKenna Grace. They discover their lineage after Egan's passing, a nod to Harold Ramey's death in 2014. And instead of an all-out comedy, it's something closer to a domestic drama, with Spielbergian flourishes straight out of an Amblin movie from the 1980s. It's one of the few movies described as Amblin-esque that makes you feel like you're sitting on the floor watching a VHS copy of Goonies. Occasionally, the movie feels too reverential. There are so many callbacks and Easter eggs that even the most decorated Ghostbusters scholars would have a hard time noticing them all. And when the movie really gets humming, particularly in its third act where, you guessed it, the original Ghostbusters make their return. It's hard to resist its numerous charms. Best of all, Reitman introduced a crop of new characters that were complicated and interesting, people you wouldn't mind sitting through several sequels with. In terms of a fresh start, Ghostbusters Afterlife understood that it had to look back to move forward. And it proved that busting still makes people feel good.